Welcome to the 1900s, where we uncover the events that shaped history. Today, we're revisiting one of the most significant legal cases in American history, Brown versus Board of Education. This 1954 Supreme Court decision wasn't just a legal victory, it marked a turning point in the fight for racial equality and public education. Stay tuned as we break down the story behind this landmark ruling. Imagine the year is 1950. America is still grappling with the aftermath of World War II, but on the home front, a different battle is brewing. Schools across the country are segregated by law. Black children and white children are forced to attend separate schools. The problem? These schools are anything but equal. In states like Kansas, South Carolina, and Virginia, black students are forced to study in overcrowded, underfunded classrooms, with old textbooks and poor resources. The doctrine of separate but equal, established by the Supreme Court in 1896, allowed this injustice to continue for decades. But in the early 1950s, change was on the horizon. Parents and civil rights activists had had enough. Among them was Oliver Brown, a welder and father from Topeka, Kansas. His daughter, Linda Brown, was forced to walk miles past a well-equipped white school to reach her segregated black school. Brown, along with other black parents, decided to fight back. With the help of the NAACP, they filed a lawsuit against the Topeka Board of Education. Their argument? Segregated schools violated the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which guarantees equal protection under the law. But this wasn't just happening in Kansas. Other cases in South Carolina, Virginia, and Delaware were making similar arguments. All these cases would eventually be combined into one: Brown versus Board of Education. Fast forward to December 9, 1952. The case has made its way to the Supreme Court. On one side, the NAACP's legal team, led by future Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, is prepared to argue that segregation inherently creates inequality. On the other, the Board of Education defends the status quo, claiming that segregated schools provide just as good an education for black students. For 2 years, the court deliberated. This wasn't just about schools. This was about the very fabric of American society. Then, on May 17, 1954, the court delivered its historic ruling. In a unanimous decision, the Supreme Court ruled that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. Segregation in public schools was declared unconstitutional. Chief Justice Earl Warren, speaking for the court, made it clear: no matter how equal the facilities might appear, separating children by race created feelings of inferiority that had lasting effects. This decision didn't just impact schools, it sent shockwaves across the nation. It was a major victory for the civil rights movement and paved the way for further legal battles against racial segregation. But the path forward wasn't easy. Across the South, resistance to desegregation was fierce. It would take years, and in some cases, the presence of federal troops to enforce the ruling. However, Brown versus Board of Education remains one of the most important decisions in American history, setting the stage for the fight for equality in education and beyond. While the Brown decision was a huge step forward, the struggle for true equality in education continues to this day. Schools remain segregated in many ways, by income, neighborhood, and access to resources. But the principles established by Brown versus Board remain a guiding light in the ongoing pursuit of justice and fairness. More than just a court case, Brown versus Board of Education reminds us of the power of ordinary people, like Oliver Brown and Linda Brown, who stood up for what was right, changing the course of history. Thanks for joining us here on the 1900s. If you found this story of Brown versus Board of Education inspiring, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for